Hi, good morning, everyone, and good afternoon, wherever you are. Thanks for joining and welcome on board. This is Smart Learning platform where we train people. And yeah, we'll be talking about software testing today. And I believe as we go through the slides, we will be impacted and the knowledge will be given unto us. All right, so our agenda for today is quite straightforward and it's quite easy. We've got just 4 bullet points here, which is talking about the trainings, what the training which we're here for, our career progression, and where we'll be going from one step of the career to another, how we will learn, how we'll grow, how we'll achieve our dreams. And at the same time, I'll take you through the job opportunities within UK, within the world as a whole, and also who should take this course? Who are those who want to take this course? Do you think it is for you? Do you think it's not for you? It's best for you to decide. At the end of the course, students will be able to, first thing, understand various test processes and also continuous quality improvement. What do we mean by understand test processes? What do we mean by quality improvement? All these are things that we'll expect you to understand at the end of the program. We'll be able to apply various behavioral modeling techniques from various requirement gathering. When we gather requirements, when the BAs have gathered requirements, what do we mean? What behavior do we want to go? Do you want to go through the normal waterfall? Do you want to go through the normal agile process? All these are things that we'll talk about and we'll have a good knowledge of it hopefully by the end of the day. We'll also know the difference between what an error is, the difference between what a defect is or a bug, and also what is a failure. And all these things they are interlinked to each other. And if you don't have a good understanding of what an error is, where you can find an error, what is actually a defect and what is a failure, you might not be in a good spot or you might not be a good test analyst at the end of the day. But you having a good knowledge of this will give you a better hedge over other people. The ability to combine various test methodologies on a task. What do we mean by methodologies? Various strategies, various methods of doing things. Are we going to be using boundary value analysis? Are we going to be using equivalent partitions? All these things are things that we'll talk about. And these are the things that we'll have to have an insight or a knowledge of when to apply them, when to use them so that you get the best results at the end of the day. And also we'll understand various testing tools. We've got a lot of testing tools outside that we need to understand. And by so doing, it's going to help us to know what tool is required within an environment. Also, we'll understand how to apply various testing techniques. We've got various testing techniques outside in every environment. Every environment has their own techniques. You might go to an environment where they don't even have any tool. You might go to an environment where they have their inbuilt tools. All these things are what we'll have an understanding of, and we know when to apply them, how to apply them, and where to use them. We'll also learn about how to take up responsibilities, how to communicate effectively within the team, within the stakeholders, and at the same time within our various test managers, project manager, business analysts, what to say at the right time and when to say it. Sometimes we might feel that we're saying the right thing, but we might not be communicating right to the right channel or to the right people. So all these things are going to be a clear understanding of how and when to take up responsibilities as well. The student will learn the ability to analyze requirements, to flesh out acceptance criteria. What do we mean by acceptance criteria? In a testing environment or within a testing team, this document called acceptance criteria is quite important. And it's very, very important because based on that, that's where you can write your test scenarios, you can derive your test cases from there, and at the same time, you can write your test steps. If you can get all this sorted out, then sure, definitely, you're having the right knowledge and you're having the right ability to be a good test analyst. You also understand the importance of keywords, like you analyze things. And let's get into the mind frame of being a test analyst. If you are within an environment, there are some certain lingua franca that you need to speak. And these are some of the things that we need to make an habit when we're in a test environment or when we're a test analyst or a tester. Because if you don't have this lingua franca, it might be at a detriment for you. You need to understand where to use them, how you can connect those languages, those words together, those keywords together. And you can see I've put some keywords down here, like analyze things. If you've observed since earlier today, I've been using some of those keywords, which are very, very important as a test analyst. You analyze how to differentiate things, what to select, what to structure, where to focus your attention on, how to get the right attribute that you'll be connecting, how to deconstruct an acceptance criteria, how to evaluate a test script or a test scenario that yes, is actually meeting the acceptance criteria, how to judge a test that, okay, this test I'm carrying out is actually the right test, how to monitor a test when you put it in a monitor mode, how to coordinate a team, how to create a lot of language, a lot of keywords that we'll be using that will help us at the end of the day to say that, yes, I believe I'm good enough for it. Now we're going to get into the right topic. And before we go, please, if we have any questions, can we please write it down somewhere before the first break, which we will definitely have a break. We'll take questions so we don't get interrupted, please. Thank you. So the topic for today and how we're going about today's class or program is in the introduction, importance of testing in software development lifecycle, the testing lifecycle itself. What do we mean by test planning? What are the types of testing out there? What is verification and validation? What is the difference between quality assurance and quality control? And how do we get our bug reporting up to date? How are we sure that we've reported what is needed within our bug system? And all these things are what encompasses of a tester. Because the actual truth is, if you're writing, for example, what we normally tell people, or the good example I normally tell people is when you get into an environment new and you don't know how the system within that environment works, you might find yourself had to connect within the people, to connect to the people. But if you have the right language, you know how the tools are being used, or even if you don't know, and you, like what Richard Branson used to say, fake it till you know it. And you are faking it and learning it at the background. And when you know it, you're already good to go. So let's get kicking and let's get going. What is software testing? Software testing is a process which is used to identify the correctness, the completeness, the quality of developed computer software. It doesn't have to be computer software only. It can be a website, it might be an application. It goes into various aspects. What do we mean by correctness? What do we mean by completeness? What do we mean by quality? When we say something is correct, is it meeting what the business analysts have access to get to develop? Completeness. Is it actually complete? Is something that is meant to be there not there? Or is something that is not meant to be there that is there? I give a good example. I always like using a building, for example, because we all have a good insight about a building. If you want to start a building, definitely you need to start from the scratch. What's the thing you need to do? You need to first of all get your architect to start looking at what kind of design you want to do, gather the normal, try to know how many materials, the bricks, the blocks, the cement, the sand, all these things is you're gathering requirements for what to build a house. And when you gather all those requirements, then you now start with, okay, what's the next step? I want to get a property, or I want to get the land is there, which you've gathered all the team. Yes, the team is gathered, the builder, the bricklayer, the people that's going to bring the sand. You've gathered your team together, which encompass in a testing environment or in a product environment, so to say. Your team depends on your business analyst, your product owner, your scrum master, the developer, the tester. A lot of people will get involved, even the third parties, which might be your clients. Some of them are going to come on board to attend your meetings to see how you guys are progressing. All these things are something that is quite important within the team. And at the same time, when we're talking about that, that is when, back to the example I was giving, when you're building a property or when you're building a house, you do understand that these are the things required. After you've gotten all the requirements, or you've gathered all your requirements, you start your building from the scratch. And if you told them that, okay, this is what I want a bungalow with a 2-bedroom on the ground floor or duplex. If they don't meet that requirement, or if the room is small compared to what the size you're giving them or what the architect has designed, it's not correct. So these are the things you as a tester will identify. You're identifying that it's not meeting the correctness of the requirement given. And there, the acceptance criteria, which I explained earlier, is what is the number given to you. The let's say is meant to be 1,000 square feet. If it's less than 1,000 square feet, it's not meeting the correctness. It's not correct based on the specification, based on the requirement given to you. When we're saying complete, how complete is it? Is it correct in the aspect of the house is built completely? They might leave the back door. It might be a wrong back door you ask them to. They might put a wrong back door to it. They might put a different window. It's not complete in the aspect of it's not meeting what you've asked them to do. The quality might be different. They might use a fake bricks, which can easily, when a wind blows, just everywhere it's scattered. So these are the things that a software tester do have a knowledge about. And when they have this knowledge in their hand, they are at the tip of the finger. They progress in life within a short period of time. So having all this background understanding is quite important in life as a software tester. It is a process of executing a program application under positive and negative condition. You can do it either manually, you can do it in an automated space, and at the same time, what you're checking for is you're checking for the specifications, which I've said earlier. You're checking for the functionality of it or the performance of it. What do we mean by the functionality? A good example of functionality is if a phone, every one of us in this world now use phones. If I give you a phone and I say, okay, can you please dial 1, 2, 3, 4, 5? And when you press in the number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, it's not displaying as 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It's displaying as 7, 8, 9, 10. Definitely the functionality of the application of the phone is not working as they specified the phone to work. It's not performing as is required. So all these things are what a tester do go through. And when they go through all this, they know where the problem is, where the failure is, or where the defect is. And this is where you have a different perspective, a different picture of what is a failure, what is an error, what is a defect. And when you do have this, you are very good and very equipped to get into the world. Why software testing? What is it that is all about software testing? Why do I think it is for me? Software testing is important as it may cause mission failure, impact on operational performance, and reliability if not done properly. I give a good example. Every one of us go on an airplane. Every one of us board a plane. If we don't board a plane, we go on in a car. Or even if we don't go in a car, we go on a bike. I would say when you build a bike or an airplane and they tell you, oh, this airplane is built, but unfortunately we've not tested it. Please, can you jump on board? We're traveling all the way to Australia. I bet none of us want to go because they say it's not tested. Nobody wants to lose their life. It's going to be a mission failure. Why? Because they've not tested it. It's not proved and tested. But if it's proved and tested and is meeting the requirements, it's meeting the performance that, yes, at this so speed it should take off, is meeting it's reliable that people can say, yes, I can sit in it for so long hours and get to my destination, then why? Definitely you are meeting the mission that is meant to be, that is produced for. You are meeting the acceptance criteria. You are meeting the requirement why it is built. Effective software testers deliver quality software products, satisfying their users' requirements and needs and expectation. As a business owner or as a user, you are expecting that when you buy something, even from the market, it's meeting your requirements, it's meeting what you bought it for. It's meeting what you're expecting it to do. If you buy a mobile phone in the market now, you're expecting it that when you call someone, you can speak to the person, you can hear the person can hear you, you can share messages, you can share pictures, you can do a lot of things. Those are your expectations. Those are what you need the phone to do. Those are what you want the product to do. And as the person who produced the phone, these are the things he's asking the producer to do. And you as a tester, you are now testing that application that, yes, is it really meeting what the user wants you to do? Is it really meeting what the user will do with the phone? Is it really meeting what the user is expected to do with the phone? If all these questions are not answered correctly, then definitely you're not meeting your user's requirement. Even as a business analyst, you're not meeting your user's requirement. Even as a customer, your requirements are not met. You will not be happy to go buy and buy it again. You'll not be happy to go back and say, okay, yes, I want to buy from this product again. A lot of things has happened. We can talk about BlackBerry. BlackBerry is not in the vogue again. Why? Because WhatsApp moved them out of the market. They are not meeting the requirement of their users anymore. But if they now come up with a new idea, new technology, new system, new requirements, or new things that is expected from the users, you see them will move further than WhatsApp again. And this is what it's all about. When you can meet your customer's requirements, you can meet what your customer needs. And at the same time, when you're giving them what is required, they are satisfied. If they're not satisfied as a user, then your job is not finished. Your task as a software tester is not finished. And what I like to put myself, the position I like to put myself is in a position of a user. How would I feel if I'm being given this application to use and I'm encountering various issues, various problems? It keeps failing within my hand. I'm not going to feel good. I'm not going to feel happy. I would definitely not be impressed. Now let's talk about who should test. Who are the people that are meant to carry out the testing? Is it just for anybody? Is it just for everybody? No. If you don't have the skills, it's a skill set. If you have the skill for attention to details, and you can easily, I said, easily spot people's mistake. Or when you're walking by a billboard and you can see that, oh, instead of them spelling, there's a spelling error there. Or, oh, the picture is not matching, the colors are different. Or, oh, on the phone, I can easily see that my phone, there's a line there. You can spot all these things easily. You have that attention to details. Then you're a good tester. A developer can also be a tester. In what aspect? Because why? They understand the system. They built it. They're the one that developed it. But why would they test? They will test because they are the one that wrote the code. And they are mostly driven by deadlines. Deadline, the aspect of when a product has been built. For example, like a phone, Apple phone now. If Apple is building that phone, they have a deadline, very strict deadline. Within 3 weeks, 3 months, they built it. And it goes through various series of testing, rigorous testing. So the developer that built it knows all the connection URLs, knows everything that is affecting the phone to either work perfectly, to meet the requirement, to meet the expectation, and at the same time can analyze the product itself. We will get deeper into understanding what the developers do as time goes on. Who should test? An independent tester. They must learn the system. As a tester, you have the good knowledge of what the system is all about. Right from the requirement gathering, you are in the meeting with your team, with the team that are gathering the requirements about what is about to be produced, gathering requirement on the product that you guys want to do, understanding how the product will work, understanding how you meet your customer's expectation, understanding how you will break the application that, okay, if they are saying this application or this website is meant to go to, let's say, for example, Ministry of Justice. What if I had some numbers at the end of the URL? Am I going to get to Ministry of Justice? Would I be able to break it? Will I still meet the quality? Will the quality still be met? In the aspect of when you go on the page or when you go on the application, can 10,000 people log on it at the same time? Can 20,000 people be doing the same thing, pressing the same functionality at the same time? If you can test that, if you as an individual person can understand that, then you know the system, you can break the system, and you are driven by quality because you want your customers to be satisfied with whatever application, with whatever product that you are giving to them as an end user, and whatever product that the customers will be using. Now we're moving deeper. I said, what is an error? What is a defect and a failure? To the best of my knowledge, I want us to understand that these are three different words, completely different. As a tester, you should understand the meaning of an error. You should understand the meaning of a defect. And at the same time, you should understand the meaning of a failure. An error is when there's a mistake. A mistake can lead to a defect, to a bug. And a bug leads to something that fails. So when we say an error, it's made an error in the aspect of when you're gathering a requirement. I'll give a good example here because I've experienced this a lot. In a meeting where the team, testers, the business analysts, they're gathering a requirement, and the requirement that gathered right from the onset, you as a tester can spot the error of the business analyst who has gathered the requirement. In the aspect of it's gathered the requirement, instead of the car to be a 4-wheel car, is writing a 3. It can be a typographical error. But if you have not spotted it, it's going to go into development. The developer will say, oh, wow, we're building a car with a three wheels this time. That's impressive. And it's going to build it based on the requirements you've gathered. But the error there might be a typographical error, which is instead of typing 3, type 4. Or instead of typing 4, type 3. And from there, the developer developed a car with the 3 wheels. You as a tester, you've not spotted that. You've gone to test it based on what the requirement is, a 3-wheel car. At the end of it, after it's been developed, you then spot the defect. It's been built. It results to a failure. The customer or the end user will say, well, I didn't ask for a 3-tire car or a 3-wheel car. I asked for a 4-wheel car. Now we can see the generation of the failure. It started from just a simple typographical error. And if we have spotted this, and this is where the testers need to get involved right from requirement gathering. Because if the requirement is saying 3, and you as a tester in the meeting, they've said 4, 4, 4, 4, 4, and you now saw the requirement written down in the document passed to you as 3, you can raise that as an error and say, wow, I think there's a mistake here. You meant to write 4 instead of you wrote 3. And that is result. 1, it's going to save cost, it's going to save time, and it's even going to save your reputation. The organization's reputation is going to be saved. Because if the organization's reputation is not saved, they'll lose customers, they'll lose money, they'll lose everything. Even the organization can fold up. But if that single mistake is corrected right from the requirement gathering, then there won't be a bug, neither will there be a failure. It's going to be a pass, pass, pass all the way. So these are the 3 different things. To understand what an error is, to understand what a defect is, the difference between an error and a defect, and also to know that the end result of a defect is always a failure. And when it fails, or when there's a fault within the application, then there's been a mistake from the onset, from the requirement gathering. It might not be from the requirement gathering. It might be from when the developer is developing it itself, that he has written a wrong code, or instead of putting a blue color there, you mistakenly put a green color on the web page. Or instead of putting the functionality, connecting the wires for the functionality to key in a 1 figure, it's keying in a 2 figure. Or sometimes, like the way our phones used to misbehave, we can be hearing background voices, or sometimes the earphones, the earpiece is not working anymore. All these things from one requirement to another, when they are gathered properly and they are tested from the onset, then we are in a safe hands. So, like I said, an error is human's action that produces an incorrect result, which actually results into a fault. And I've explained this all the way. So yes, more or less a forefront of explanation. So a person makes an error, which creates a fault in a software application or in anything we're producing as an IT, and this causes an operational failure. It might be the system to crash. It might be that the web page cannot load. It might be that your phone is faulty. Whatever it is, it leads to a failure. An error ends up in a failure. So it's deviation of a software from its expected result. So what is the expected result? The expected result is when I dial 1, it should dial. When I send a text, the end user should receive it. When I build a house, it should be based on what I've asked the user. Fine, there might be some financial changes that might cost whatever you want to do to change. But these are the things that would already be captured in the process of developing the application and where the requirements would change. So with us having all this knowledge, all these skills, all this understanding, it will equip us more. And there's more understanding here that we need to know. There's 100% more understanding, and which I believe will flesh a lot of things more out in the actual training. So let's get down to who is a software tester. Who do we think a software tester is? Sorry, Wale, is there a way that I can engage the class by asking questions? Timothy.
Yes, we have to unmute them.
Okay. Is it possible for me? Because I want it to be interactive. I don't just want it to be.
I'm just conscious of their background. You know, some people might have a very noisy background. So what we can do is we can try it if the background is not that noisy, because we're recording. You know, it's just so that people can listen to this afterwards. So someone is raising up their hand, and I would unmute that person.
Thank you. Because I want it to be interactive. I just don't want to be talking. You get what I mean? So that at least I can have their ideas, and we want to share knowledge here.
All right. So there's someone here called Ayo.
Yeah.
Ayo and Olu. Ayo, can you talk to us if you know what that is?
Okay. Yeah. Can you hear me?
Yes,
we can hear you.
Yeah. Good afternoon. Okay. So who's the software tester? Okay. A software tester is a person, a member of a development team that does the job of verifying or validating an application.
Okay.
Validating in the sense that it meets the user requirements and functional requirements, and is in line with the maybe software specification document or business requirement document. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Ayo.
Thank you, Ayo. We've got Olu as well. Let me unmute Olu, and Olu, go for it.
Okay. Good day, everyone. I'll say a software tester to me is someone that uses a set rule of validation and verification rules to check for the errors, bugs, and defects of any software or program that could affect the smooth running performance of the software. It could be logical or runtime error, depending on how it goes.
All right, thank you, Olu.
Just one more, Wally. Just one more, then.
I will take Courage. maybe we should take 2 more because Friday has got his hand.
Okay.
Okay, hi, good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
A software tester to me is basically an individual that tests software for bugs, errors, and or any problem that can basically affect the performance of the computer software or an application.
All right. I'm sure Olu is taking notes. Can we try Friday? Friday, go for it.
Okay, like you said, a software tester is somebody that tests for the correctness, completeness, and errors in the program, which is yet to be which is yet to be said as in launched online or something of that nature. Thank you.
All right, thank you. All right, thank you. So what I will do is I will put everybody on mute. All right. So Olu, over to you, Muiwa.
Thank you, Wale. Thanks for that. Yes, all the answers are correct, but there are some languages that we need to, like I said earlier, there are some wordings that testers don't do, which when we get there, we will understand, and I'll let you have a more understanding of what a tester is. But from here, let's see from the perspective of being a tester. Who is a tester? A tester is the one who performs testing and find defects if they exist in an application under test. What do we mean by performing?
Olu, mute yourself, please.
Yes, I saw that now.
Okay.
So what do we mean by performing tests? What do we mean by finding defects if they exist? Definitely, there's no application that is defect-free, not in this world. No application in this world is defect-free. That's why we see that even our phones, they do updates, version 1, version 1.1, because they've seen something. And that's why you see when you buy a new phone, they'll tell you that, do you want to be sending data to them? And if you say yes, they're using that data to check where their defects are, where their efforts are, or where their errors are, sorry, where the errors are within the application, or where the defect, the failures are coming in from. And based on that data, they are using it to improve the new one that will be coming out, the new version. That's why they keep doing upgrade, 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 upgrade. And now a tester performs a test. What is it performing a test on? Why is it performing the test? And who is it performing the test for? One, you are performing a test on an application. If you remembered from the onset, I said, you're meeting a requirement, you're meeting an expectation, and you're meeting your customer's need. If these 3 things are not in your mindset as a tester, then I'm sorry, you're not on the right frame. But if you can meet your customer's expectation as a tester, put yourself in their shoes. If you can meet the performance of what they wanted to do, and at the same time, if the application is actually performing as expected for them, then yes, you are carrying out a software testing role. You check a phone to see that when you dial a number, the number dials 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It dials as 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. All right, what if I press 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 on my phone and I press the keypad to call? Instead of it to call, it's opening a new application. It's not meeting the expectation. It's not performing what I'm expecting it to perform, to dial the number. It's not functioning as I want it to function. All these things are attacks of a tester. It doesn't have to be on phone only. It can be on a web page. On a web page, we all shop on a web page, or we all go to different web page, or even on our mobile banking application. You're typing to send 10,000 whatever amounts to someone. And instead of it 10,000 coming up, it's coming out as 40,000. And you change it and it's still repeating itself. There's an issue with the application. It's not your phone. Because you know when you press 1, 2, 3 with your phone, it's working as it's meant to work. But when you go on the application or the banking application, it's not doing what you're expecting it to do. Even on a website, when you're shopping and you click on a blue jeans or a blue dress, and instead of you to see a blue dress, you are seeing a green dress. It's not meeting what you wanted to do. It's not meeting your requirement as a tester. The requirement is being stipulated by the business analyst that, okay, when you go on this so page, you're shopping, you go on a page, you go on a dress, you see the sizes, you want to choose size 10 or size 12, and you put it in your basket. When you get into your basket, you want to see what you've gone through, the dress, the size, and the basket, the color. But when you now get into the basket and you're seeing a trouser or you're seeing a suit in the basket, that wasn't what you did. That wasn't what you selected. What has happened within the channel? What has transpired there? What has happened? There's been a defect there. It has failed. It has not met your expectation, because your expectation is for you to see a blue dress with a size 12 in the basket, but you're not seeing that. So all these things are what testers do. They do it on various platforms. It might be on a commercial platform, it might be on a financial, insurance, name them. They require testers. We are versatile anywhere. Anywhere we go, testers are required. Whichever environment, even in the government sector, testers are required. The government is producing an application for their customers to use. You'll be the one to test it at the end of the day to verify. What I like telling people is, see, I'm the last channel for a product to go out. If I don't certify it that yes, it is good to go, it can't go anywhere. It will sit on my desk. And that is what my organization where I work for know me. They'll say, let Muiwa say yes, it's good to go. Then we are 99.9% sure that it's good to go. Or if the testing team say it's good to go, because you have to put yourself on a high value to let them understand that the task you are performing is even far important than who developed it. The person that developed it can develop it, yes, good. It's written his codes, perfect, sweet. But you as a tester, you can break his code. You can break the application, and the developer will say that. That's why you see most developers and testers don't agree. They'll say, no, they're best of enemies. But that's when it comes to the project. But in real life, they're friends, because I help you do a better job. If your job is perfect, I test it and it's perfect and I certify it perfect, then they'll see that you're doing a good job. Or if you do a job and I keep breaking it, you're not doing a good job. That's what they will say. I'm the one doing a good job, because I'm getting all the failures. I'm getting all the defects from whatever you've produced. And this is why a tester is important, very, very, very important in an organization, especially in the IT world. So what does the testing team contain? I've been mentioning them since morning. I've mentioned the project manager, I've mentioned the business analyst, I've mentioned the scrum master, I've mentioned the product owner. But what do they do? What are their tasks? What are their roles? If we have an insight of what they do, then we can know, like I said, who to communicate with, the right people to meet at the right time, the right people to talk to, the right people to direct your questions to. Your communication skills will be enhanced. You will know who's the go-to person. And the project manager here is the person that plans, he executes all the projects, is the one to ensure a successful, smooth running of the project, that there's a minimal, if possible, no risk for the project to be delivered all through the project lifetime. It's like most of us that are developers of projects that build houses. You see them, they say, oh, I'm the project planner or the project manager of the estates, building the whole estate. Why is it the project manager? Is ensuring that, yes, this flat is built as required, that flat is built as required, or this house is built as the specifications and all that. Is making sure that no risk, the customer or whoever his employer is making the most use of his money and is not wasting money, and at the same time is meeting what the customer wants the house for, what the customer wants the application for. I like using house as an example because we all have the idea of it. And at the same time, phones. Because if you have a phone now, as a project manager, we're building a new phone, and the phone is not meeting the requirements. We want to spend some thousands of naira or pounds or euros or whatever amount dollars that we want to spend on the application. And we are always exceeding the budget. Before you go to anybody to go and query anybody, you first talk with your project manager. Why are we going next more than budget? And this is where you need to understand who to go to, who to speak to, the responsibility for writing the project specification. Who is the person that, okay, as a tester, I need to go and tell him that, see, yes, I know this is the project. You've said this is how the lifespan should be for the application. But as a tester, based on my knowledge, I feel we can reduce the lifespan, because if we don't reduce the lifespan, we'll have to keep going through some recurrent defects. And when you keep going to a recurrent defect, one, you're losing customers, two, you're wasting money to fix a defect and all that. So these are the things that testers, the go-to person, they can go to the project manager and speak to him or her to understand what the critical decisions they need to make. And when they're making such critical decisions, it enhances the team. It makes the project lifespan, it makes the project very smooth, and it runs effectively. A QA lead. That's a quality assurance lead or a tester lead. The coach, the mentor teams, the junior team, the onboarding team, the member of the team to improve quality assurance effectiveness. A task that is meant to be done within 3 days, with effectiveness and the smart way of testing, you can test it within 1.5 days. If you've done that, you've improved you've improved your team. You've worked with them to achieve a goal within a short period of time. And when you have that skill set, when you work with your team members and you can improve their effectiveness, you as a test lead, you are affecting yourself as well, because they'll see you as a good leader. But if you're meant to do something for 3 days and you're doing it for 1 week and still not finished, they'll question your leadership. They'll question your leadership, that are you really a leader? Although the team might want to do it. And that's why they say that the little ends that follow the older ones. And whatever the older ones do, that's what they do. Even nowadays, even our children, if your children see you reading book always, they will want to carry their book always. But if they see you always sitting on TV, they want to do the same thing. And this is what leadership is all about as well. We work with other departments to represent and collaborate. So they speak to other teams, the development team, the ones that go to meetings, they go to the project manager, they go to the business analyst. Okay, what is the new development? What is the new changes? They convey that message to their team so that their team will be equipped, so that their team will be updated with whatever information the team is doing, whatever it's required. And they even set up team meetings, implement industry's best practice relating to testing, automation, and to streamline the QA department. It might be in the aspect of, okay, now the company has decided to downsize from maybe 700 people to 500 people, and they need to reduce staffs within the team, in all teams, in all departments. They'll come and speak to you first as a QA lead. Who do you think is not effective within your team? Who do you think is not giving you the expected result? Or who is not the person that is working as expected within your team? And you as a QA lead, you don't have to be biased here. You have to be realistic with yourself, because whatever decision you make is decision based on the team, not based on individual preferences. So if you're making a decision within the team, you're making it for the team, which should help the team. If you're now taking the best staff out because you feel the best staff you are not sure of, it might come and overtake you or overrule your position or take over your position, and you want him to be the one to leave the organization. When a project comes in, I'm sorry to say, you'll be the one that will sit in that shoes and be doing 100% of the job. But if you're taking out the one that is not effective, you're affecting the team more. You're making the team more effective because you've removed the one that has been a burden, that doesn't do the work, that always prolong the task that has been given to him or her. So this is where your skills come in. And this is where you know who to go to, who to speak to, and who to associate yourself with. A test analyst or a test lead is different from a QA lead. In the aspect of when in some organizations, the way they do their organizational chart, they can put it a QA lead or test lead. You can do the same thing. You can work the same task. You all are doing the same task as well. You're responsible for planning, developing, executing automation, manual, plan, regression test, name it. You are responsible for the task of your test plan. You're developing the team in the aspect of the trainings that should go to that will help them within the project they're about to do. You're planning the team, okay, the days off, your holiday period should not fall within the project. All these things are what the test analyst or a test lead do. You're identifying the targeted test items. What environment are we going to be using? What system are we going to be using? Do we have enough broadband weight? Do we have enough team people to be on site today? All these things are what a test analyst or a test lead do. They define the appropriate test requirements or test required and also any associated test data. What does this mean? In the aspect of test requirements or test required, it might be in the aspect where they want to use a different methodology, a different techniques to carry out the testing. All these techniques is something we're still going to talk about. Sorry, Wale, you saying something? Okay, I think that was it. So all these things are what we're going to talk about within the training as we go on. We gather requirements, gathering and managing test data, the data that we need when it comes to the aspect of financing. If you work in a financial environment, there are some data you need. It might be the login details, the dummy bank account, the dummy credit card that you use to carry out your test. All these data will be provided for you by your test lead so that when you're executing your test, you won't have any hiccup, you won't have any delay, you won't have any obstruction that, oh, I can't do this because the test data are not working. And even if the test data are not working, they would always have a prepared test data in your test environment. They evaluate the outcome of each test cycle. A test cycle is how you organize your test from the beginning to the end, from when it comes into the test environment to when it exits the test environment. There's something within the test that called entry and exit criteria. All this is something we're still going to touch about within the testing, within the training. So we'll have a better and a more robust knowledge about what a testing team does itself. And we'll talk about what a test engineer do. Who is a test engineer? Or who is a tester? The engineer might make you scared that, oh, you have to study engineering. No, they call it engineer because yes, it's working within an application, is engineering on the application. It's kind of an engineering work on the application. It's doing a test on the website or even on the product that's being developed. If you even go to a biomedical environment where they do chemicals, they still have quality control people. And that's similar to a test analyst role or a test engineering role, because they'll control whatever chemical you're producing to be sure that, yes, the chemical, the amount of portion you need to put to mix all these things, they're controlling it. Even as a tester, you are there to make sure that the requirement is met when you're writing your test cases. The requirement is met when you're reporting your defect in the aspect of the steps to reproduce, in the aspect of taking a screenshot on the defect so that you can be sure where you experience the defect. Is it in a Windows? Is it in Chrome? Is it in Safari? Is it in a Mac laptop? Is it in whatever environment you're carrying out, whatever platform? All these things are what a test engineer reports when they're carrying out a defect lifecycle. And when you have this understanding and you have this knowledge, then you are sure and 100% sure that you are within the right path to be a great tester. A test engineer are also responsible for determining the best way a test can be performed in order to achieve 100% test coverage of all components. I just said that now, that you might be carrying out the test in a Windows Chrome, it might be in a Safari Chrome. These are two different platforms. the way Windows Chrome work is different from the way Chrome work in Mac. The way IE work in Windows is different from the way IE work in Mac. The way Chrome work in an Apple phone or an iPhone is different from the way it works in an Android phone. All these differences, you will know where the best practices are. You know how to carry out your tasks. You know how to evaluate them. You know how to structure them. You know how to do them to meet the requirement that's been given to you. And I've worked in an organization before where the requirement is just test on an Apple phone, test on an Android phone, test only Android series of phones and tablets and Android laptops, which is Windows, so to say, sorry, apologies, Windows laptop. And they'll give you some requirements to just tell you only iOS devices. There'll be some website that'll say it has to be compatible with iPad and tablets and phone. If you're not meeting all those compatibility, all those requirements, and this is where your responsibility comes in as a tester, this is where your skills comes in. When you're equipped, when you're knowledgeable to understand how to carry out all these techniques, then you have the best coverage within any task that you've been given. Whatever the component is, whatever the platform is, whatever the technology is, you are good to go. What is the importance of testing in a software development life cycle? How important is testing in a product? When we're developing a product, how important it is to the product? And I'm very sure we all can start having a picture of it. How important is it to test an airplane before you fly it? How important is it to test a Mac phone before, or a Windows laptop before you buy it? You might buy it brand new. When you get to a house and you see that, oh, I can't seem to log into this thing, or I can't seem to be doing what I'm expected to do with it, you definitely will return it. And this is where we have an understanding of a software development lifecycle, how important it is to testing, or how testing is important to it. So here we're going to talk about this, where the stages are from when to start testing the software development lifecycle. We have different requirements, different methodology of testing phases, different testing lifecycle, different development systems that we can use. And here is a good one where we start from the requirement gathering. And like I said earlier, when we want to build a house, you start with requirement gathering. Okay, what are the requirements to use to build a house? 1, you need a house. 2, you need the financial capability. 3, you need your architect. You need to know where to meet your bricklayers. You need to know where to get water. You need to know where to get the cement, the materials you need. These are the requirements. You are gathering them all together to fit the purpose of what you want to do. And what is the purpose? To build a house. And the same thing applies to when you're building a website as well. You need what do you want the website to do? How do you want it to perform? Do you want it to be compatible? Who are your users? You need to gather all these informations together. It doesn't, you find when they're gathering this in a big organization, when they're doing this gathering of the requirements, they can involve the testers. Some of them do, some of them don't. But in an organization that work in an agile way, they always involve the testers. Because why? Why they involve the testers is the tester can easily tell them that, oh, when you're gathering this, this is also needed, or this might be a problem at the end, because they're put on the hat of the users. And so they can see from the user's perspective. They can see from the user, from the end user, that, okay, as a user, would this thing fit what these guys are talking about? If yes, fine. If no, it's going to put his input. From there, when you gather all your requirements, then you start analyzing, you start fleshing them out. Is this good for purpose? Yes. If no, they take it out, they remove it. If yes, they continue with it. If no, they take it out. Then you now go to design it. Fine, you've got your architect from your requirement gathering. Your architect will now start designing it. Okay, it wants to be 3 upstairs, 2 downstairs, conservatory downstairs, the kitchen at the back, blah, blah, blah. They'll do all the designs for you. That's when you now get your bricklayers. I'm just using a layman understanding. Your bricklayers will now be the developers. They'll develop it for you. They'll do the codings in an application. What the way it goes is from when the business analysts get out the requirement, they analyze them with the testers, flesh out all the acceptance criteria. They give it to an architect, a solution architect. An architect will now design the application. They'll do all the conjunctions. Okay, from the login page, you need to land on the landing page. From the landing page, you need to be able to see your login screen, see the various sub-heading tags, see the various menus to the left, to the right. At the footer, you need to be able to see various links. All these things is what the designer will do. They will design it for you. A user design, the UX designer will design all this for you. And when they design it, they give it to the developer. And the developer will now go with that design and say, okay, based on this design, how would I get the codes to do that? Okay, this is the code I need to use. I need to, whatever language they want to use, they do it, they code it. And when they code it, that is when they now implement it. They finish the coding, they'll now implement it and say, okay, is this meant to work as we want it to work after they've implemented it? After the implementation, that's where you now come in as a tester. And this is more or less a waterfall system methodology. This is called a waterfall methodology, which is the most universal used methodology in testing. It's always been there and it's ever going to be there. If you have an understanding of waterfall methodology of testing, you are super good to go anywhere, because this was how I started. Before you now start thinking about you want to use agile methodology and whatever methodology they have now, a lot of things, Kanban, name it, there's quite a lot of methodology. But if you have this basic foundation knowledge of testing, that this is the requirement, it goes from the gathering the requirement to analyzing it, to designing it, to coding it. From coding and implementation most times fall hand in hand because it's the same thing. It can be coding / implementation. And that is where after then you now come in, you now put your art as a tester. Okay, now they're finished building it, they're finished developing it, they're finished implementing it. Now let me test it. Let me see that, okay, when I log into this website, I'm landing on I get into the landing page. If the requirements say go to the landing page, yes, it takes you to the landing page. If the requirements say when you click on login, a pop-up should come in to say save your username or save your password, or a pop-up should come in that verify yourself. All these things are what is being tested as a tester. It's going to say verify yourself that you're a human. You don't want to take, that's another step for verification. So when you're going through all this, you're testing them. That's where you came in as a tester. And even before you start doing all this, you have been part of the system from the onset. You have been part of the people gathering the requirement from the onset. You've known, yes.
Sorry to interject you there. Just a quick one. I noticed that Olu Amos, you have logged on like 3 times or 2 times or something like that. I can see you here, except if this is different Olus. All right. So I can see Olu Amos. Then there's another Olu Amos that has a picture with it. Because we have quite a number of people that are trying to join. It's been a bit of struggle. We're really full to the brim. Olu, if you're logged on different instances here, can you, I mean, except if you have if you have people logged on, with your name, different locations. But if not, Olu, do you want to message me there? I don't know, because I might have to release you, release some of the sign in here so that more people can get on or can get in. Olu, do you want to confirm, please? I don't want to, use my admin rights to, okay. All right. Yeah, there's still Olu Amos there. So is it this, maybe different people bearing the same name?
Possibly, Wally.
All right, so
it might be Olushola Amos and Olu.
Yes, so there's another, because I see 3 Olu Amos here, but 2 of them has like a profile picture. The third one doesn't have. All right, so I'll take it that they are different people. All right, but only if you can hear me, please. You can talk back to us or just message us. Over to you. When do you want to have that 10 minutes break with them?
Possibly in the next 20 minutes.
20 minutes. Okay, fire on there. Thank you. Sorry to interrupt you. Go on there.
Let's say by 12:30.
Sure. And guys, please, can I quickly also let you know, do not log out. All right. Even when we take that break, don't log out, because if you do, then somebody will take your, well, somebody will not take your place, but somebody will log in and you won't be able to come back in. Do not log out. I pray that all of your internet and everything is working perfectly, but do not log out, because you might not be able to log back in. We'll have limited space. So yeah, please. All right, you get the gist anyway. Over to you.
Yeah, by 12:20, so we'll take a 10 minutes.
Okay, 12:20. Okay then, thank you.
Thank you, Wale. Thank you so much. All right, back to where we are. We're talking about when to start testing in an environment or in a product or in a software development lifecycle. And as I was saying, from gathering the requirements to analyzing them, to designing, to coding and implementation, then you coming as a tester, putting on the art of a user to understand how the users will use the application, how they will perform, how the application will perform to you as a user. Would it meet your expectation? Would it meet what you're buying it to do as required? If you, just the way now that Instagram and Facebook and Snapchat and all the social medias are working, if they're not meeting the requirements of people to show themselves, to snap pictures, to do whatever they're meant to do, nobody's gonna use it. And the good example I used earlier was BlackBerry, the BBM. It wasn't meeting expectation anymore. WhatsApp took over. You can do a sole market. Everybody wants to diversify to different things. And that is why they lost their market. But if they come back and do the same thing the way WhatsApp and Snapchat are doing, you see people will turn to them again. So that is where you need to know what your market is. When you know what your market, who you're meeting, if you're meeting the expectations, then definitely you will continue to exist within the environment. And when you're carrying out the testing, that is where you have to put on that art as a user. Am I meeting my customer's need? Am I meeting the requirements? Is what I'm giving to them, is it performing as they want it to perform? If a series of phones, let's say for example, an iPhone now, most people know that when you're using iPhone, is restricted to some sites. That you can't even download some applications on them. But when you go on Samsung, it's accept all. And some people will say because of that, they don't want to buy iPhone because it's restricted, it's restrictive to some things. But you as a tester, when you're testing those things, those kind of application, you know that when you carry an iPhone and you want to test on it, you know that you can't do it. These are part of the things that you need to understand as a tester, from a tester's perspective, from a tester's mindset. That yes, when I'm doing this kind of testing, it's not going to work on an iPhone, but on an Android, yes, it's good to go. And there are some things on Android that work perfectly, that doesn't work good on iPhones. A lot of things that we can compare and compare and contrast with, that as a tester, you need to have that in-depth knowledge. The thing is, as a matter of time, when you progress in career, you will know that you have a lot of knowledge, insights about testing. And at the same time, when you do self-study, which I always tell people, self-study is the best. If you are within a career path and you want to progress in that career, you need to self-study a lot. Do research, do readings about the program. If they're doing a webinar, if they're doing a training, just join. You will learn something. One or two things you will definitely learn from there. Even if you have the knowledge more than the presenter, it will still say something that will trigger your mind like, oh, I think that's right. And you will learn something. And that's me. I always want to join, even if I don't know. There was a project that we were doing recently. And the product owner or the project manager was like, okay, I want you to test this application. It's a backend application. And the first thing I said was, I don't have backend knowledge, but I'm willing to learn. And she's like, well, if you don't have backend knowledge, then there's no need for you to test. I was like, no, I want to learn. Because the thing is, if you learn, you're making yourself more marketable. Because you can go for an interview, and when you get there, the interviewer might just be asking you just a simple question, which you know. And by you expanding on your wealth of knowledge to the people that are interviewing you, they're like, oh, I think this is a good asset for us. And that is where I put myself. I always want to learn more and more and more. I don't stop learning. I still do my 4:30 a.m. wake up. I still do my late night reading. And this is what I'll always encourage whoever comes on the training to do. Even if we can't do a 4:30 training in the morning, we can always do in the evening. But when it comes to doing the proper, rigorous interviewing preparation, it's odd times, always odd times. And that is where a tester's perspective comes in. You can do things at the odd time. It might not be the time that's convenient for you. They can send a task for you to do, and they say, oh, they need it to be done in the next 30 minutes. You have to prioritize your tasks. You have to leave whatever you are doing and jump on the task. What you're doing might be a different application. And what they're asking you to do might be the website or to test a different component. You have to switch immediately and switch to that component and say, yes, this is now the thing I'm doing. And based on the knowledge you've acquired from testing various applications, testing various websites, testing various components and various products, you can start using it on various things that you are doing on a daily basis. And from there, you are improving your skills, you are improving your knowledge, you are improving your quality, you are improving your marketability. And that's where you now start firing your employer and say, man, I'm gone. I've got a better offer. And that is how testers live their life. And the next step is the step of maintaining. What is the maintenance aspect of software development lifecycle? When a product is being developed and is being analyzed and designed and implemented, and the testing is gone through, no defect, or there's no how there's not going to be a defect, but the minimal the defect is the best for the application. And it now comes to maintaining. And that is what phones are doing. They'll upgrade and keep doing an upgraded version, or keep doing iPhone 12 or Samsung A20, Samsung Galaxy. They are maintaining their markets. They are maintaining the product so that users can come back to them and continue. And when they're doing that, they're improving the life cycle of their product. They're improving the development life cycle of that product in the aspect of the same thing that's going across. They might just put an improvement of a phone, of a camera. They might put an improvement of capacity. All these things are what they are doing. They are maintaining the life cycle of the product. And if it comes to a single, like now you can say iPhone, they've discontinued some products that they can't maintain them anymore. So the lifespan of that product is finished. If you're using Internet Explorer, you know that some Windows 7, Windows 8, they've discontinued it. They don't support them anymore. So if you have those ones now, if you have any issue with them, you might not be able to rectify them. But if it's the product that they're still maintaining, if you have issues with them and you call the customer care, they'll tell you, yes, this is the way to solve it. And they'll tell you the resolution plan. And when they give you a resolution plan, that is where now it goes through the same aspect of them fixing it. After they fix it, then they carry out the testing before they roll it out to customers again. So like I said, from the onset, the best form of testing is to start from the requirement phase. That's from the beginning that you initiate the product. If you have that understanding that a product is about to be delivered or produced, please, please, please put a tester or put on the art of a tester, even if you're a business analyst and you don't want the tester to be involved on set. Put the art of a tester and start thinking as a user. How would the user use the application? Would it function for them based on how it is meant to function? I will just put a design here of what a software testing lifecycle. There's difference between a software development lifecycle and a software testing lifecycle. This is strictly in the testing environment, and the development is for the project. You are developing a project. Software development lifecycle is completely different from a software testing lifecycle. This is the testing life cycle of an application, not the development aspect of it. So the testing aspect of a software comes from the project initiation phase. So when the project is being initiated, it's been conceived that, okay, this is the project, this is what we want to do, this is how we're going to gather the requirement, and the requirement has been gathered. Then you now start studying the application. If it's an imaginary application, if it's a dummy application, you can get a sample-like application. Or if it's a website you want to build, you can go and search for websites that are similar to what you want to develop, and start looking at their functionalities, looking at their designs, looking at how they do things, how the website is operating as a whole. From there, you're doing a system study. And when you're studying the application, you're putting, how would I put it? You're getting knowledge about, you're preconceiving a knowledge of what the application will look like at the end of it. And when that is in place, you now start developing your test plan. And what is a test plan? We'll still talk about it, but I'll give you a quick insight. A test plan is when you have the product and you know that, okay, this product is conceived. How many testers are we going to be requiring? Where are we going to carry out our test? Who is going to be the one responsible to lead the test? Who is going to be attending the team meetings with the other development team? What is our entry criteria? If the product is developed, what are the things that need to be met before we accept it in the test? Which environment are we going to be testing it? Is it going to be in the staging environment? Is it going to be in the dev environment? Is it going to be in the non-live environment or pre-production environment? All these things are what to be structured out within the test plan. How many defects are we going to, if we encounter defects, how many should be able to be accepted by the customers? Should we have a severity? Should we have a blocker? All these things are going to be fleshed out within the test plan. So if they are structured out within the test plan, then that is when your test life cycle is having a progression. Because if it's not structured out and not the requirements are not met of such people, you can say, yes, you need 5 testers for this application or for this project. And in the series of going through the project or during the test life cycle, 3 testers go off sick, maybe because of the pandemic around the world now. It's going to affect the test life cycle. A testing environment or a testing product that is meant to take you 2 weeks, and now take you 3 weeks or 4 weeks. So all these things, all these mitigations are going to be met, are going to be written down within the test plan, so that when you present it to the business or to the project team, they'll put that in their master plan of, okay, this is what the test team, this is their test plan, this is their structure, so that it's going to fit within the project itself. And they can put that and say, okay, the timeline for the project is 6 months, but based on this test cycle or test plan, it's going to now take us 7 months. So all these things are going to be structured out, and which is meant to be communicated to the project manager as well. And now that's where you now start designing your test cases. And before I forget, your acceptance criteria, it's very, very important in your test plan. You need to structure that out. If you don't structure your acceptance criteria out, I want this website to be able to log me in to my bank account. If it's not structured out completely, there will be an hiccup. And that is where I said earlier, the acceptance criteria, the entry criteria. What is your entry criteria? What is your exit strategy? All these things will be written clearly within your test plan. Then you now start designing your test case. What is a test case? This is a step-by-step approach of achieving the expected requirements. A step-by-step approach. Okay, I gave you a good example, which I normally like using when I'm carrying out a mentoring class. When you're writing a test case and I give you a scenario as a user, or make sure this application log you into the website, or let's use the example I used earlier, when you want to buy a dress and you choose a blue dress, size 12, you put it into your basket. what is going to be your test plan? As a user, I want to be able to buy a blue dress, a size 12, and when I get into the basket, it should be there. That is a scenario. That is a simple scenario. Now, as a tester, you're writing the test case for that. That is the test case itself. That's now when you now have to do the step-by-step approach to achieve that goal. And what is the goal? Blue dress, size 12 in the basket. Whatever way you want to achieve that goal, you need to write it down as a tester. And that is where it comes to a test step. Step 1, I want to enter my URL or open my laptop, whichever process you want to start from, wherever you want to start from. Enter the URL. From the URL, what do you get? You click on the page. From the page, you go to the dress. From the dress, you go to the color. From the color, you go to the size. From the size, you go to the ad basket. All these steps will be written down step by step, and they'll be verified. You have to verify them. Because if you don't verify them, what in the process where you're adding from blue dress into the basket, you click on black into the basket. So when you're verifying each step within your test case, you are putting a pass or a fail to those steps. And this is something that we'll be using a tool to explain to those that will be coming into the testing class proper, because we'll have access to tools when we start the training. And this is quite helpful because Wale have put out a lot of things for us against this training, which is quite helpful. And thanks to Wale for that. From the test case, you now go to executing it, which I was saying earlier. While you're executing that test cases, you're taking the step-by-step approach. Step-by-step approach. Step 1, I log into the URL. Did you get the actual result of what you wanted to do? Did you land at the URL? Yes, I did. That's a pass. Step 2, I go to the web page. Did you get to the web page? Yes, that's a pass. Step 3, I go to the dress. Did you get to the dress? Yes, that's a pass. So those steps, you're executing them step by step by step by step by step till you get to the end where you see your blue dress in a size 12 in the basket, and that's the end of that test case. You've completed it. You put it as a pass. In some application, you can have over 2,000 test cases. But those 2,000 test cases might not be relevant. It might just be 5 of it that's relevant. So that is where you need to be able to use various techniques to be sure that in an application where they say, okay, you're testing a banking application, where they say, if you want to make a payment, I know some banking application, if you don't have a token, you can't pay more than some certain amount. So now those people that will test that application, they'll use some techniques, which is like a boundary value analysis or equivalent partition. That, okay, what is the boundary value of the token to be paid? If it's more than 1 million naira a day, or more than 1,000 euros a day, or more than $1,000 a day, you should not be able to do any transaction if you've exceeded that amount. So now you can do 5,000, 7,000, 2,000, 2,000, 2,000. You can do it a million times, or to the amount of the 1 million, equivalent of the 1 million. So if you now get to that stage, as a tester, you're expecting that it shouldn't go anymore. But if you see that you still keep going and you can still do transaction, that's a defect, that's a failure. But when it gets to 1 million and you can't do, for that day, you set a 24 hours time frame. It can't transact until when the 24 hours is completed, and you can now start another 1 million or 1,000 or whatever amount transaction. Then there you know that you're meeting the acceptance criteria that is laid down by the requirement that 1 million exceed after 24 hours, it should not go. So these are the things. These are what the testers do at the back end that we're using the application, we don't know. Most banking applications do it, that when you exceed a certain amount without a token, you cannot. But now when you have the token, which is like a step ahead, and you now insert the token, it's going to say, yes, the token can take you to whatever amount, or they put a limit on the token as well, until when you call your bank to say, okay, I need to make this certain amount of transaction, and that's when they'll not authorize it. So all these things is a criteria. That is the acceptance criteria that is laid down by the business. And when you as a tester, you need to make sure that when you're carrying out the test or you're executing that test case, you're meeting those criteria that's been laid out by the business. Because if you're not meeting that criteria, then there's a failure there. You're putting the company at a jeopardy. And from there, if you encounter issues where you say that, okay, like the example of the banking application now, where you shouldn't exceed more than 1 million. And the aspect of you now, you see that within 24 hours, you can do 10 million. That's a big problem. Even 1,000,001 is a failure. 1,000,000.1, 0.0001 is a failure. That is when you now raise a report, a defect. You raise a defect. And from that defect, you can now start writing your defect criteria. What are the steps that you use to get to that failure? That is when you now go through your test step. You give them the steps that you use. To be a good tester, you take the screenshot, give a summary, there's a lot of things you need to do within that criteria, within just raising that defect. And this is a whole lot of different game entirely, because if you don't have that habit of how to structure a defect very, very well, you might be writing it, but the person you're sending it to might not understand what you're doing. And what do we mean by regression? When a test is done, you want to test it that, okay, whatever is being tested, whatever defect that has been spotted is fixed. I like using this example because most of us, I know one way or the other, we have encountered in our life. If our phone is faulty, like we can speak, but the person cannot hear us, or we can't hear the person where the earpiece is not working, you take it to the people to fix it for you. That is the defect you spotted, that the earpiece is not working. You can speak, but they can't hear you. And you can speak, they can hear you, but you cannot hear them. Your earpiece, whichever one. And after they fixed it for you, they've done the defect fix. They give it to you and say, oh, here's your phone. We'll fix it, it's working. As the user, you want to check that what you took to them is working, right? Yes. And at the same time, you want to check that, okay, they fixed the earpiece is working, but what if I call? Are they what they fixed? Are they not affected another place within my phone? That when I call, instead of me to call, it's not calling again, or I can't hear them. I can hear them, but they can't hear me. That's another issue resulted from what they were fixing before. So that is what is called a regression test. You're trying to carry out a test on what is being fixed to be sure that it's not affecting any other part of the system, any other part of the application. Whoever is raising hand, we've got, oh, sorry, I think I've run over time, but let's finish this, then we'll go for break in another 4 minutes. Apologies, please. And we can take quick questions after the software testing life cycle. So let me finish with this, then we'll take questions before we go for break. So from there, that is where you know you carry out a regression test. You're checking that whatever is being fixed is not affecting any area that is within the application again. That what they fixed is not affecting any other place. Then from there, you analyze it, you send your analysis. Okay, these are the things you've seen. These are the amount of test scripts or test cases you've covered. These are the amount of defects you've seen. There's no save one, there's no blocker, there's no whatever. You send them your reports. And that is when you send the report to them. And that is the end of the test cycle. Because this, as a tester, is your job. This is where your job fits in. This is where you are. If you master your software testing life cycle, you are a software tester and you're a test analyst. So,
all right.
Apologies. I think I was too eager to drop all the software testing in me to everybody. That's why I overrun time, which I know I said 12:20 earlier, but yeah, let's get to questions. I've seen about a few people raising their hands based on what we said earlier. Please, any questions? I'm open to questions for the next 3 minutes. So
okay, so thank you. Sorry to interject you there. I know we said 10 minutes break. I just quickly want to say this to all of our friends that have joined us, all over, Nigeria, a few people in the UK and all over. Can I just encourage you to, make sure that you keep your connection on, you're logged on to Zoom, do not log out. All right. The challenge with that is we're overbooked, oversubscribed. And I recognize some people have been here, early enough. Some people even joined 40 minutes or 50 minutes before, likes of Ife, Kemi, Adeniran, and a few other people that, that we've been chatting all along. Please do not log out. If you do, the problem is you might not be able to get in. All right. So I pray that our internet connection is fine wherever you are. So keep your connection or keep the login on. All right. So if you have any question, raise up your hand, just like we did the other time. And the reason is we're just conscious of your environment, your background. Just give me a sec. We're conscious of your background, as today is Saturday. A lot of people would have the kids at home and all of that. So we want to make sure that we do not mess up the recording. So if you have any question, raise up your hand and make sure that your background is not noisy, and we will take your question in.
I'm sorry, Wale, you've gone off. If you're still there. Timothy, if you're there, please, do you want to anchor the questions so that whoever asks a question to ask can raise up their hand and you unmute them for me, please? Yeah, Wale. Yeah, okay, Timothy, please, can you unmute Solomon? Solomon Ugbo is raising hand. Timothy, are you there? All right, Solomon Ugbo, you can unmute yourself.
Okay. Good afternoon, sir.
Hi, good afternoon.
Please, I'm a newbie here, but though I'm trying to get few things around. In this text plan,
Yeah.
Does it have a procedure you have to take, or you can write it anyhow it suits you?
Are you talking about the test plan itself?
Yes, in the SDLC.
Okay, so SDLC doesn't really not that it doesn't have a procedure, but it's a technique you need to understand. So in the aspect of where you want to carry out a testing, you need to actually know what to do, when to do it, and how to do it. So
Okay.
what to do in the aspect of, okay, the application is ready to test. What do I need to do? Your acceptance criteria, you need to know them. Your test scripts, you need to have written them. The test case, you need to be familiar with them. So all these things are things you need to do. That's why you can say, I just put a structure there, because it's quite easy when you have that structure in your mind. It's just like your daily routine, that you have the structure. When you wake up, you brush your teeth, you take your bath, you dress. You get what I'm saying?
Yes,
So
sir.
if you have that structure in your head that, okay, this is the routine of the tester, it's going to be a walkover for you. Let me just use that word. It's going to be quite easy. The ride is going to be smooth and easy for you as a tester. And to be honest, if anybody can master this, you can be a tester anyway. That's my own. Does that answer your question?
Yeah. Yes, yeah.
Thank you. Any other person raising their hand? Any other person raising their hand? Solomon, are you still raising your hand? Can you? Okay, I've lowered your hand. Any other person raising their hand? can't seem to see any question. All right, Godfrey. Yes, you can unmute yourself, please. Godfrey, you can unmute yourself. You can unmute yourself, Godfrey.
Hello, good afternoon. Can you hear me?
Hi, good afternoon.
Yeah. Sorry, I want to know
Yes.
how much of this involves calculations, maths, statistics, or whatever. How much of this is involved?
All right. When did you join? Did you join earlier before the class?
Yeah, I did. Yeah.
All right. Did you hear about my story?
I did. Yeah.
All right.
History and all of that. All of that.
I hate maths. I hate anything science. I'm sorry to say. That's my own objection, my own perspective. But like I used to tell people, if you want to get into IT world, the easiest path to get into IT is through software testing. There's an aspect of software testing that involves coding, not really calculation, data science, no, not really data. There's an aspect of it, but it's not heavily on it. So if somebody like me that don't like maths or science can do it, then I believe anybody can. So I would say not much. If you work in a very different sector, in the finance, you have to do math. You have to know some mathematical SQL and all that data analysis. But if you work in some organization that has to do with, let's say, commercial, retail, clothing, websites, you don't need anything maths there. So I will just give that as an example for you.
Okay, I think you've answered that question. Thank you.
Any other person raising their hands, please, so that we can go for break now and come back by 1:45. Any other person? All right, then if nobody, then we can have a 10 minutes break and we'll be back for 1:45, please. Please don't unmute yourself as well, or don't log out just as Wale said, because someone else might take your spot. And I think we are filled to the mask for now. So, and I hope everyone is enjoying the class so far. So 10 minutes. Thank you.
All right, guys. So thank you again. We have that 10 minutes break, and we're going to be starting back or resume the training shortly. Can I encourage you again? Do not sign out. Let's keep the connection open. You keep the connection or keep connected to Zoom, so that someone else, will not take your spot. Can I also encourage us look in the chat box. In the chat box, you would find so somebody can see me. So in the chat box, you would find the URL that I put there. It's this one. I'm gonna type it out again. I'll show you how to locate. Okay. So I put a URL there where I said speak to the expert. I would type it out again. Apologies, something happened to my computer earlier on. It's in the flyer that you can see right in front of you. It's called bit.ly/smart careers or career #1. All right, Muiwa just put it there.
Yeah.
Thank you, Muiwa. For those that going to be coming for the main training, the main training is for 20 hours. So if you can imagine what we're showing you now, you like it. So you can imagine what the main training would all be or will look like. It's going to be for 20 hours, followed by 4 weeks practical, hands-on practical. Someone was asking questions around industrial experience. Maybe in Nigeria, you call it industrial experience. So I suppose the person wanted to know whether there's going to be a follow-up section around practical. Absolutely, there would be a section on practical. So if you register if you put your name and put your information. As a matter of fact, let me do something for you. I would like to show you what the form look like. So you would complete this form, and once that is done, you will just bear with me. Let me put that information here.
Wale, the link is Smart Career 1, not Smart Career / You did Smart Career /.
Okay, I think I should copy it from yours then.
Yeah, I'm just proving my quality as a tester.
Your quality. Putting your quality cap on.
I think Timothy has put the link for speak to the expert link up as well.
Yeah, Timothy, thanks for that. Let me just open it for them. Yeah. So that you can see it as well from here. So it's a nice, beautiful Google form that you can complete that form in less than a few minutes. So this is where you will get a one-on-one with Muiwa, myself, and we would be, so this is what the form looks like. I believe everybody can see the form. Muiwa, can you see the form?
No, not yet.
Oh, so okay, let me share that with you. Let me share it with everybody. So this is what the form look like. So you will complete this form for us. And what will now happen is we will have a one-on-one call with you to understand a bit of your background. And it does not really matter what your background is. So whether you work in the office, whether you have in an IT background or you've come from a different background entirely, it doesn't really matter. That's the essence of this session, this kind of session with you, so that we can tailor the training to you. So complete that form for us ASAP, and Timothy will reach out to you as soon as possible. Somebody's asking price. We haven't fixed the price yet, so somebody, maybe Cargo or something. Sorry if I did not pronounce your name properly. We haven't. All right. So until we understand, your unique situation, and we have a conversation with you, then obviously we can start to have a conversation as well around what the price is. But for us, the knowledge that we're excited about, how we think we can be a blessing to you by impacting this knowledge and also supporting you throughout this career journey. So first, let's get to meet you. Let's get to understand, what you're looking for and how, we can help you. So that's the thing that we wanted to do first. Then every other thing in terms of price would actually follow. So get to register on the form. Complete the form, and we will reach out to you ASAP. ASAP will reach out to you. So we also mentioned earlier on as well that we have this beautiful. So if you're on Twitter, if you have come through the Twitter channel, that you've been engaging with, some of our friends on Twitter. Spell me. So if you've been, on Twitter, there would also be some messages or post on Twitter as well that you can use to reach us. So we have telephone numbers. We have the link if you don't want to call or it's too expensive for you. So there's just so many ways, channels there through which you can reach us. All right. So we're looking forward to, walking this walk with you, helping you out in this journey until you become until you become a software tester. And that's exactly what we're going to do throughout this journey. So how many minutes do you have left before you continue?
You use 1 minute of my time.
I've eaten into your time. All right. So apologies for that. So I will stop sharing now. Then Muiwa will carry on. So Solomon, thank you for the message. Yes, it's going to be reasonable. Please complete the form. Someone said, do you train automation? Yes, we do a lot, even security testing. So if you're aspiring to become a pen tester, or you want to do a lot around security testing application from security viewpoint, then you have come to the right place. Anthony, yes, just Anthony Gabriel, complete the form. Cabo, complete the form as well. Yes, we can start to have a conversation with you. So, Muiwa, I would leave you now to continue. Thank you, and yeah, see you guys on the other side. Bye.
All right, thank you, Wale. And yes, let's register so we can kick the ball rolling. And yeah, back to where we stopped. We were talking about software testing life cycle, which I said is quite different to software development life cycle. And I want to believe we all understand the differences. There's difference between the development. Software testing is a body or a part of a software development life cycle. So yes, so somebody asked earlier what are the things that encompasses within a test plan, and we're going to talk about what are the things that are inside the test plan. So, and I believe I explained it within the software testing life cycle. The test plan is a systematic approach of testing a system. So that is the software. The plan typically contains a detailed understanding of what the eventual testing workflow will be, how many testers required, the entry and exit criteria, environment to test, number of testers required, etc. I've explained this while talking about the software testing lifecycle, and I believe I'll run with the speed of light. And please, if you have any questions, like I said earlier, write them down, and after the class, we'll take them one after the other. As many questions as you ask. There's no stupid questions. I think so. Yeah. So I've spoken about test case, which is part of the software development, software testing lifecycle. So test case is a specific procedure of testing a particular requirement. It will involve identification of specific requirements tested. And like I said, what is the test case entails? If the test case entails to test a dress, a blue dress in a basket, you need to identify the requirement. The specific requirement is a blue dress. A blue, that's the color. That is a dress, that's the design, it's the size is 12. So all these things that meet a specific requirement, we are identifying it within our test case and we are writing them down as our acceptance criteria. The test has to be successful or it has to be a failure. Like I said, that's the two criteria that we have, either is a pass or a fail, and which I mentioned earlier within our testing when we were talking about software testing, a pass or a fail. If the test case is a fail, then a defect has to be raised. If it's a pass, there's nothing you need to do about it. That's the end of the software testing lifecycle of that test case. And the specific test to execute, I mentioned about the test steps. You need to write them down, structure them out properly so that it is clear and precise. There's no ambiguity inside. So that even when a layman carries the test steps, he will understand the end goal. He'll be able to achieve what you've written down. And to me, that's the best practice. Because if you can write a test step for somebody who's not a tester to test an application, then yeah, I'll give you thumbs up. And that's what I used to tell my team at work, that if you can write a test step for me, that I can bring an outsider to come in and say, okay, this is a document, this is the application, carry out execute the task. And they can successfully do it without calling your attention, then you know what your test case is. You've written down your test case. And at the same time, the test data is required within your test case. Whatever data that's needed, if it's the data to log in, if it is data for the password, if it's data for dummy cards to be used, if it's data for whatever data that you need to use, is provided to you by the testing. And at that period, from there, you now need to know the understanding of testing. What are the levels? Testing has various levels, from unit testing, integration testing, all this type of testing encompasses as a tester, encompasses what you as a tester do. If you don't have an understanding of this, then you might just be doing the wrong thing at the right time. Or you might be doing the right thing at the wrong time, whichever way you're doing it. So what is a unit testing? I like using a mobile phone as an example here. So I have a unit. A unit is a small piece of task. It might be a module, a small module, and the module might be just the screen. What is the screen? What is the screen going to do? The screen is meant to display whatever you ask it to display. So these are mostly done by the testers. If you're using a website, they're building their code. And when they're building their code, they're making it solely for something. They are the one to carry out the testing on that unit testing. They're mostly I tell my team, unit testing is done by developers, because if you don't have an automation background or development language background, or Java or C# or Python, all those languages, if you don't have that understanding, it might be hard for you to carry out a unit testing. But I used to tell people who is coming into the testing world, for now, forget about unit testing. Don't think about it now. Don't let that be a blocker for you. Don't let that be a stumbling block. No, you don't need it for now, because you don't have the knowledge if you are not good in that criteria. If you are not good in languages, forget about unit testing. It's not for you for now. We talk about integration testing. This is where you will now start coming in to the testing phase, because when you want to integrate means bringing things together. And when you bring them together, are they working together without harming each other, without affecting each other? So when you bring a mobile phone, let's piece this a mobile phone. They have the keypads, they have the headpiece, they have the speaker, they have the screen. When you integrate those things together, the screen with the keyboard, and you're pressing, just like our laptops, if we take out the screen, that's a different unit. The keyboard, that's a different unit. The mouse is a different unit. So when we integrate them together, we're doing an integration testing on them. When I put the mouse to my screen, to my laptop, would I see the cursor moving around? That's, you've integrated it with the screen and is now displaying on your screen. You're carrying out the testing on the mouse. This is what we do on a daily basis. We all are testers, but we don't know that we are doing what a tester will do. Some people don't know. Because even when you're doing a mouse and you see it's not working, you see, you take it out, you put it back, you take it out, you put it back, you try another port. You're carrying out the testing to be sure that is the mouse or is the port. So that is what you're doing. You're querying it, you're testing it to be sure that, yeah, it's working as expected, as you want it to work, and is meeting your requirements. So when you integrate them together, you're seeing that, yeah, they're working together, there's no issues, there's no problem, that's good. Then we now test them as a system. We bring the mouse together, we bring the keyboard, we bring the screen, we bring all the components, all the model, we put them as one. We put them as one, then we now test everything as a whole. We now test the system as a whole. If we test the system as a whole, if the mouse only is the one not working, that's the defect from the system, which should have been captured when you're doing the integration test. But if it's not working when you're doing a whole system test, that's just a defect for the mouse. And at the same time, if it's the screen that is not working while you're doing a system testing, the screen might be working initially. It might be when they're integrating them together, something went wrong, and the system, something went wrong. It's not the behavior of the mouse and the keyboard, they're not liking themselves, or one code is affecting it at the back end. So it's not making it to work as you want it to do. Then definitely you're going to carry out a test on it. And when you're doing this as a tester, they have different names they call them. They can call it a black box testing, they can call it a white box testing. And I like telling people using a phone to do an example for black box testing. On your phone, you can have a phone, you see your physical phone. You can press the mouse, increase the volume, turn it off. You know what the components outside are. That is when you're doing a normal black box testing. You know what the outside environment is like. You know how the functionality in the outside are. But when you're doing a white box testing or a glass box testing, everybody, they have different names. You know what is outside and you know how it functions inside. You know the outside components and you know what are the components inside, how the wires are joined and how the codes are connecting to each other. That is when you're doing a white box testing. And that is when you go back to unit testing from the beginning. Here, unit testing is more of a white box testing. But when you go to system testing, you're not bothered about the inside, you're bothered about the outside. You know everything about the outside. And as a tester, this is your starting point. You know about the component, the functionalities, you know about how it performs, you know about how you can use it, you know about a few bits about the security testing. Because when you're now talking about security testing, you can go deeper into penetration test, which is a whole different ballgame entirely as a tester. But a little bit of security testing, the aspect of, okay, you want to test the login details. What if I do different combinations? Most times now when we're trying to open a new account, you see that giving us criteria to meet. That's the acceptance criteria. If we don't know, that's what is called an acceptance criteria. They're giving you their acceptance criteria before you can meet. If you don't meet that criteria for the password, you can't get through. You can't open an account with them. But if you now meet that acceptance criteria, then fine, you've completed the test. That is it. You can create an account. And this is a part of what is called security testing as well. because they can tell you the acceptance criteria, it has to be a 10-digit number with different alphabet, different characters. If you now put just a 10-digit number and it goes through, it's not meeting the security that is set out to be tested for the application. So all these things are type of testing that it's inbuilt in you as you progress in your career. It's inbuilt, and if you have this background knowledge, you are going to be far, far, far superb in the testing world. So we just put a brief explanation about what the usability testing is. Mostly is the user interface test. What is the user interface test? Where you can see the screen, you can interact with the screen itself. It has to be user friendly when they're building it, because the interface is what you're more interacting with. Is it something that when I click on a cursor or I click on a tab, how will the tab display to me? Will the tab be visibly? Will I be able to see what is written, or I have to zoom in and zoom out? All these things are something that needs to be considered. How is the speed of the interface, that when I click on it, it opens within 5 seconds or within 0.01 milliseconds, or it opens in, I have to wait and you see the screen keep going round and round and round and round. It might not be your internet, it might be the application itself. Why is it doing that? It might be a lot of things affecting it from the back end, where possibility it might be that a lot of people on the application at that time, which is where you come about the performance testing as well. What is a functional test? You're interacting, or everything that you can interact with on the application. Anything that a user can interact with on the application. For example, now I'll use an Instagram. If you can click on add picture, that's a functional testing you do. And you can select your picture from your picture file, you can upload it, you're checking the functionality of that module which is to upload a picture. You're checking the functionality. If it's for you to type in a comment in Facebook, you're checking the functionality of that comment box, that when you type in the comment and you click on send or share, you can see it shared. Or on LinkedIn, and you upload your profile picture and upload your CV or your certifications, and you're checking all those things. You're checking the functionality of that application. Or like the example of the dress that I gave you. If you're going through the dress, you can see you're checking the functionality that when you click on dress, the dress is appeared. When you put it in the basket, it goes into the basket. When you click on the basket, you can see the actual thing. You're checking anything that involves the user's interaction with the application is what is called a functional test. And when you see that whatever you've added, integrated or put into it's perfect, it's working as how you want it to work. So now I said something earlier about when the internet is, or when the application is going round and round, it might not be your internet. It might be that there's a lot of people that is on that application immediately. We can hear sometimes they'll say, oh, Jam website crash, or one website crash. Why? They've not done their proper work. It might be the capacity of that website is to contain 30 million people at a time. If more than 30 million people log on that website at that time, it's going to crash. And this is where we check the functionality. How many people can it load this thing? Can it take the stress of 1 million people pressing enter, 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 enter at the same time? Can it press? It has a lot of testing is performed. And this is where it goes in the aspect of the non-functional aspect. Some of these testings are majorly done by a security testing as well. Because the thing is, you're performing it that when an hacker wants to hack a website, they might be doing some funny things that you don't expect. That, okay, I need to log into this person's account. When I continue clicking enter, 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 or entering different digits, and I just click enter, would it give me access and just say, okay, you're successful, you can log in? Or would it still be throwing me error, incorrect password till it lock the account? All these things are things that are performed when you're carrying out the performance testing. Because the thing is, you want to meet your customers' requirements. You want to meet their demand. Their demand is, I don't want 10 million people on my page, or I want over 30 million people or over 1 billion people to be able to load in on Facebook at the same time. So if you can meet that stress, if you can meet that load of people, If that data or the volume of people sending in data into a bank account that you're sending money and is accepting the data of 1 million, 10 million, 1 billion at the same time, and it can keep giving you the limits, it keep giving you, keep giving you the value of what you've added to the application, then definitely you're performing or you're carrying out the performance testing, because all these things is quite very important when you're testing an application, especially when you're doing a banking application or insurance. It depends on the environment or whatever application they're doing. And even in normal social application too, they carry out performance testing as well. I've said a little bit about security testing. With security testing is how well the system protects against unauthorized internal or external access. Would it damage it? How sophisticated is the application? How protective? And that is why you see some people who say, oh, iPhone is too restricted. Or this website, I can't log in because I've lost my password, and that is it, you can't do anything. They are protecting their customers, because that's why when you say, oh, data breach, a leak of people's details. So if they've not carried out their proper security testing on that application, anybody can hack into it. Anybody can hack into it. And if anybody gets your data, they can use it to impersonate you and do anything, which is harmful. And that's one is harmful to the organization because they will lose their reputation. So this is where security testing comes in. And this is where they need you as a tester to put on that act of an hacker at the same time. Okay, I want to hack this website. I want to do the unknown to this website, something that no human have done, or something that nobody can imagine that is going to happen. So you need to put on various hats at the same time when you're carrying out a testing role. It's quite easy. It's just about you having the right skill set and the right knowledge. And this is what something that will be carried out during the training proper. Another type of testing is smoke testing. So when we say smoke testing, it's more or less you're testing something to be sure that, okay, I've produced this application. Can you quickly have a look that, oh, these critical functionalities are working? The critical functionality might be, okay, I've produced an application. I want the login page, the username and password, and also the landing page to be working as expected. Those first 4 or 5 things. If they are working, then you can quickly, you can quickly do a smoke test on it, and you're not bothered about the final details, which might be, oh, okay, when those 4 things are working, would I be able to navigate to my email? Would I be able to navigate to my password? Would I be able to navigate to reset password? Would I be able to navigate to every other thing? So if you have that skill set that, okay, you want to quickly carry out a quick test on an application, all these things does help. There are sometimes some applications that will just tell you, oh, do a quick smoke test on it. This is another type of testing, alpha testing. What I normally tell people, don't get bothered about the name. Don't get bothered about the type of testing. When you get to that phase, you cross the boundary. Because to me, everything is a phase. Everything, even as a testing, is a phase. And like I said, if you have the knowledge of what a software testing lifecycle does within an application, how you can structure your software testing lifecycle perfectly and you can execute it, then all these integration units, alpha, beta, name them, smoke, you are you will get used to it as time goes on. It's just going to come as an inbuilt, because when you keep repetition, and that's why some people say testing job is always boring. But to me, it's exciting. It's one of the most interesting things where I can easily spot people's mistake and say, oh, you've done a mistake there, you know. The application is tested by a user who don't know about the application. And that is what an alpha testing is. They'll carry somebody, you want to test a car, a Mercedes-Benz car or Range Rover car or Toyota car. You're going to carry somebody who doesn't know about a Toyota car at all and say, okay, this is it. We'll build this car. Can you please have a look at it? Or you develop an application and they go and call somebody who is a retailer to come and test a financial application, to use his retail knowledge to test that. Okay, as a retailer, what do I want to do on a financial application? I want to make transaction, pay money, withdraw money, transfer money to people, people transfer money to me, I can see, check my account balance, transfer money to various accounts from ISA to current to savings to domiciliary account, all these things. Because the thing is, if you have that knowledge as a tester, if you have that art as an end user, then you can digress to various testing techniques and various testing protocols and examples, and which helps a lot. And what is an acceptance testing? Sometimes people call it user acceptance testing. Sometimes they just call it acceptance testing. But mostly in a reputable organization where they have a structured system, they'll call it a user acceptance testing. It's a formal test conducted to determine whether or not a system satisfies an acceptance criteria to enable the customer to determine whether or not to accept the system. What does this mean? All this plenty English, what does it mean? It's very simple. We've built an application. We've called the subject matter expert SMEs. Now, okay, you've asked us to build this application. We've built it. We've tested it. To our own understanding, we've met what you've asked us to do. Here is it. Over to you. Have a quick look. Test it yourself. Check it and tell us what you feel about it or what you think about it. And the user acceptance testing person will just come, oh, okay, yes, this is right, but I think we can put this in this side. I think this feature can come in. I feel we can have this adjustment. So they not tell you something they feel or something, a new feature that might feel that is required. So most times it's always the final stage of testing. Sometimes they put new criteria, which when they put new acceptance criteria, new feature, it goes in the next iteration. It goes from then it comes in the next cycle. But if it's good to go and the UAT people have said, oh, this is perfect. It meets all what we've written down as the acceptance criteria. It meets all our needs. It's performing as we want it to perform. It's meeting the customer's needs. Then fine, it's good to go. They push it to life. They launch it, and that's why you see even most mobiles before they launch it, they've done various type of testing on them. They've done the alpha testing, they've done the beta testing, they've done the smoke testing to be sure that yes, they won't call people that don't know about the phone to come and check it. That's why you see sometimes in the western part of the world, there's a testing that you can do that they'll send the product to you, those new products to you, that you should test it first. That's more or less like an alpha beta testing where you don't have knowledge about the application. Sometimes we do it just 1 day, 2 day, they'll send the product to you, you test it. And this is something that you sign it non-disclosure, but a non-disclosure about that you don't have to tell people about it. And this is more or less like you're doing a UAT for them. Because fine, they know that fine, you're a tester, you have the testing out, you can open your eyes to things they didn't see while they were producing, or while the tester himself have carried out the testing. So yes, this is another type of testing as well, which is quite helpful. And also we have mentioned beta testing. This testing is done before the final release to the users, to the end users, to the customer. It's released to users for testing where there will be no controlled condition. The user here is free enough to do whatever it wants to do on the system just to find an error, just to find a failure. They can carry out extensive testing. They will call somebody who doesn't have a knowledge about the testing. See, all these things, they are all under the same one umbrella. They are doing what carry out the test. And this is something that you yourself as a tester, you've done, because you put yourself in those hats of, I'm a user, I'm an end user, I'm somebody who doesn't know about the application, I want to break it. I'm somebody who has a knowledge about the application, I want to go to the right channel. You've gone through various types of the application and you've known how to manage yourself to actually get the testing. And I remember while doing the software testing lifecycle, I spoke about regression tests, because here it's more or less where you're finding when a defect has been found, and after it has been fixed, you're checking to be sure that it's not the functionality or the defect fix is not affecting any other part within the application that's been fixed. So it's always good to carry out this testing, especially when there's a defect found and it's been fixed, because when you do that, it's going to help you a lot to be sure that the application on the test is fit for purpose. And we have something we call exploratory testing. This is one of my best kind of testing that I like doing in an application, because I just want to explore the application. I want to see how the application works. I want to see what other people don't see. I want to work off script. I don't have a script that I have to follow. I don't have a set test case that I have to follow. I don't have a test steps that I have to follow. I just want to kill the application, go around it from landing page to basket, from basket to payment, from payment to check-in. I just want to just be going zigzag, left, right, front, center, all around the page. And when you're doing that, most times what I tell my team is, when you're carrying out such testing, always have your video recording on, so that it's recording them as you're doing it. But some people don't do it. They can just be playing around and the thing will just break. And when it breaks, how would you be able to remember the steps you've taken, where you've gone through? But if you have your video recording on your screen, it can help you go back and say, okay, from here I went that way, and this is where it broke. But as a tester, you just want to explore it and break it and do different things. Go from footer to top, from top you scroll. You just want to go around and just see that, okay, I want to break this application. I want to break it. You're not using any set test cases. You're not using any scenario. You're not using any pre-knowledge of the application. You just come as a newbie and say, okay, I want to break this thing. And that is what exploratory testing is all about. And back to an answer somebody gave us earlier about who a software tester is. A software tester don't validate, they verify. It's developers that always validate. And what are they validating? They're validating their code. A software tester always verify the acceptance criteria of any test, of any product. A developer are the ones that validate their code. They validate it to be sure that it meets what the designer have asked them to design. So testing the application randomly by like eating keys irregularly and trying to break the system, there's no, oh, sorry, I think that's a reputation for exploratory testing. So verification is the process of confirming that software meets a specification done through inspection and walkthrough, used to identify the defect in the product early in the life. And like I said, when you are gathering your requirements, you can go as a tester and start verifying the requirements. And when you're doing that, you're making sure that at the early stage, you're capturing everything. You're understanding what is about to be built. You're verifying the requirement, the acceptance criteria, you're verifying it that yes, at the end of it, it's going to meet the product required and it's going to be fit for purpose. And when you're doing it, that's verification. You're not validating anything. You're verifying it. Even to the end of when you start testing itself, you're carrying out a verification on an application. And what is the validation? Is the process to confirm that it meets users' requirements as a tester. It is the actual testing of the code by a tester. So if you have the development of a developer's hat, you're testing the code. So like I said, you're checking that, is it the right product? Is it right what I'm coding? Is it the right thing? But as a tester, you're verifying that the product is right, meeting the requirements. So there are two different things. Is the product right and is it the right product? I have a picture that was shared to me or that was displayed to me when I was doing my training of a tree. A product owner or a user or a customer wants to build a chair on a tree. That's the requirement, to build a chair on a tree. But the developer whoever the architect, he gave different design. There's some that the chair is on the tree branch. There's some that the chair is on the tree root, is still on the tree. There's some that's on the tree top is on the tree. But what he actually wants is a chair hanging on a tree. And that is where you need to rigorously flesh out a requirement. When you say a chair on a tree, how do you want it to be? This is why you need to be inquisitive as a tester. You need to always ask questions. Testers are the ones that ask million questions within the acceptance criteria, because you need to be sure that yes, it is the right thing, the right product that has been produced. And so that is where you put the art of a verification. You're verifying that. I need to verify that what this man is saying is the right thing, because you can't validate it. It is when it is being built, you can now validate that is it the right product. So when the coding, or when the developer is writing his code and is coding it, that's when it's going to be seeing what is coding, that am I building the right product for my customer or for the customer based on what he has asked me to do. So there's two different things between verification and validation. And these are the things that will flesh out more, as in we'll go in depth about them. So now we're going to talk about the difference between a quality assurance and a quality controller, or who is a QA, who is a QC. What's the difference between QA and QC? There are quite a lot of difference between them. And quality, first of all, I know we all know what the quality is defined as meeting the customer's requirement or meeting a requirement of something, and according to the standard of who the person is. The best measure of quality is.
Sorry to interject you. I probably message you, so if you can have a look. Yeah.
On my phone?
Even on Zoom. On my
Okay.
phone and on Zoom. Yeah.
I'm sorry, my phone is on airplane mode.
No, that's fine. I'll put something in the Zoom to yourself. If you can have a look, that would be great. Thank you.
Okay. Okay. All right. Okay. Thank you.
You saw the message.
Yes. Thank you. I've seen it.
Yeah.
All right. So yeah. So like I was saying, the difference between quality, what is quality? When you meet the function, the usability, and if you remember, we spoke about all this earlier as a tester. So your functional testing, usability testing, reliability test, that you show that yes, it can perform as expected. It's scalable, that is, it's meeting what the customers want. That is, you can change the environment, you can change the product within a short period of time, and it keeps meeting what the customers want at the same time. So why quality is important? It's very important because it's affecting an organization's long-term performance. And I used BBM earlier because if they're not giving you the quality of the services, then you don't need it anymore. And that's why you see they've extinct, they're not existing anymore. And it's just like Nokia too. Nokia didn't want to advance, they don't want to go into the new technology. And that's why you can see they're phasing out. So organizations that don't want to meet people's quality, meet people's demand, there's no how they're going to continue to exist. And this is where quality is needed. Even in an application, I can remember before when Facebook started, you can do some certain things. And even now they're putting more quality that you can add likes and you can hide people from seeing the likes, those that have liked you. So all those kind of things, they are putting more quality because they know the measures. They're trying to be accountable to their customers, because based on some laws that, okay, more likes, when somebody see more likes, they're feeling superstar, and when they don't see more likes, they're feeling dejected and all that. So a lot of things transpire within there. And what do we mean by quality assurance? Is a planned and systematic set of activities necessary to provide adequate confidence that the product and service will conform to the specification requirements and meet users' need. If you guys observe, almost throughout the slide, there's some lingua franca that's been used: specification, requirement, demand, customers, systematic, activity. A lot of this language is a tester's language. It's just like a carpenter. Now, a carpenter knows his language, hammer, nail, and all that, measuring and all. So it's something that you need to start learning. Even if it's a matter of you want to be a tester, you need to start learning how to use it on your normal day-to-day thing. And that is what I did. I was using it on my normal day-to-day communication so that when I get into that environment, I won't feel left out. So it is a process-oriented, defect prevention-based. It's thorough through the life cycle, and at the same time, it's a management process. Because the thing is, if you have a quality assurance, if you, the person, as a quality assurance is in place, because a quality assurance is the same thing as a tester, because you're doing the same thing a tester do. You're preventing defects. You're going through the life cycle of an application, and at the same time, you're managing the process. And who is a quality controller? A QC is a process by which product of a quality is compared with the application standard, and action taken when non-conformance is detected. I was saying something about chemical earlier. So QC, when you work in where biochemical or somewhere where they do nuclear weapons and all that, they're always QC because they have a major standard that they need to control. Even in a food environment, they'll tell you they have a quality control, that this place has to be cleaned up and all that. So all these things is product oriented. They're trying to be sure that at the same time, defects are minimized, issues are minimized. I'm sorry, I might need to be on a fast track now. So what's the meaning? What's the differences? These differences is what was spoken about earlier. They deal with the process, QC deal with the product, quality assurance that work through the entire life cycle. QC is their parts, the testing part is in the software development life. QC is for correctness, while quality assurance is preventing, they prevent. So this is where the difference is. The last one is the major key difference. So a QA is always there to prevent something from going out. But a quality controller, they'll come and correct it in the process. They're correcting it in the process. It might be after it, but they're trying to put a limited correction towards it. All right. So now this is one of the interesting parts of a tester. If you know your software testing lifecycle and you know your defect lifecycle, your bug lifecycle is always called a defect lifecycle or bug lifecycle. If you know that too, which are most of the two paramount questions they ask you in interviews, then I bet you are good to go. So it starts from you. If we remember, we were saying what's the difference between an error, a defect, and a failure. So from when something is spotted as an error, if it's not corrected earlier, it resolves to a defect when the application is built. And when an application is built, a tester finds a defect within the application. What does it do? In an environment where they have a defect management tool, or where they don't have a defect management tool, where you can write it in your Excel sheet or your Word doc, whichever means, or an inbuilt, some organizations have inbuilt tools, where the tools are, what you normally do is you raise your defects, you start writing them out, you assign it to whoever the development team are. If you have somebody who is a developer that you normally talk to, or who is the person that developed the application, you assign it to that developer. When he or she says the defect, he has the objection to either say, yes, this is a defect, or this is not a defect. And even before you assign it, there's some organizations that are well organized. They'll have a team lead who's like a defect manager, or even the test lead himself will be the one that, okay, before you raise a defect, let me confirm that it's an actual defect. They'll go with that defect to the acceptance criteria and see, and that's where you can see on the top right side, it said, test lead confirm that is a valid defect. They'll go to the acceptance criteria to see that, okay, is it actually a defect, or is it an oversight from your side that probably you feel is a defect, but whereas it's not a defect, there's a new development in the acceptance criteria. So when he or she confirms that it's actually a defect, yes, it goes and assign it to a developer. Or you can either defer it and say, no, this defect, leave it for now. We're not working on it now. We can work on it later. Continue with your testing. So there are different paths where the defect lifecycle can go through. But if it's actually a defect and the team has said, yes, let's get it registered, they put it into the tool, it's been assigned to a developer. When the developer sees it, it goes through the fixing, it resolves it, it fixes it, whatever it takes, whatever hour, whatever days. After it's been fixed, then it comes back to you to retest. That's where you're verifying that, yes, the regression test comes in here. You're verifying that, yes, it's been fixed, it's not affecting any other part, it's working perfectly, and you close it. If you see that it's not fixed, you reopen it, it goes back. If you see that, yes, it is fixed, but another thing has happened or is now affecting another part of the application, you have to raise a new defect and attach it or conjunct it or link it to this one, that this is the predecessor, this is the father of it. And you reopen the previous one and that one and raise a defect. So there's a whole lot of ways where you can raise your defect, which is quite helpful. And the tool, we have the tool, which those coming on board, we have the privilege of using the actual tool that we'll be using, which most organizations use Jira. So we have the tool on ground. And why do we perform software tests on the product? I've said this all over again, is for you to be sure that yes, it's a reliable quality, your brand reputation is being saved, you're meeting your customers' need, the project is actually giving the customers what they want, and the performance is up to standard. Because as a software tester, you need to actually perform its test on an application before it's being launched. Why perform software tests on the product, which is the same thing I've said, that the product is good. Yes, it's all meeting what is needed. We show that yes, the organization is reliable, and we can see now that the major two types of phone in the world is either a Samsung or is an iPhone. It's not as if the other phones are not performing or they're not working as expected. There's LG there, there's Motorola there, there's Nokia there, there's Sagem, there's Techno, there's a lot of other phones. But it's not as if they're not performing up to standards, but we are now looking at quality. Is it giving me the quality of what I want? If you remember what we mentioned about quality, and that is where they come into play as well. So here we go. We're gonna go into a different platform entirely. So is software testing a good career? Do you think you can get good salary in testing? Should I go for development or should I be a tester? Which hat do I want to put on, as a software tester or as a developer? Well, like I said from the onset, testing is one of the easiest career or platform to jump into technology. If you want to go into a technical background or IT world, to me, I feel testing is the easiest one because it's cross-functional. You can digress from testing to various roles, and it's quite easy. So who or what can you become as a tester? So I like to tell people that as a tester, you can become anything and everything. Forget about this ladder. This ladder is just the normal testing path for a tester who wants to go to the peak of the testing role. But if you want to be more marketable, I would say after the manual testing and you know a little bit of automation testing, and you now become a test analyst where you have the two caps on, you can now move to be a security tester where you earn triple the money of even what a test manager earns, or you can become a product owner or scrum master, or even move to a business analyst. Because if you have a tester, or if you have a testing background and you move into a business analyst role, you'll be an hot cake in the market, or even into a PM role, because you will see the requirements needed for a tester, and the testers will appreciate your skills. So all these things, for me, I believe within a short period of time, you can attain it. My career has been progressing. I'm in the test analyst role now. I'm looking into digressing into cybersecurity. Because why? I know that penetration testing, security testing is what the market entails. With the pandemic now, everybody's working from home. Most people are working from home in the Western world. Anybody can hack into any IP and all that. So you having that knowledge of testing is fundamental, is critical in the testing world before you can start digressing. You can be a product manager, it's up to you, whichever path you want to take. But at the same time, you can move forward and be a test manager if you want to be doing just management skills, and go ahead and become a director of the head of the units, whichever department, head of the director, testers and all that. I put in this slide just to give us a tip of the iceberg of how the testing the testing world has been within the last 6 months. So this is more or less UK and Europe as a world. The contracting role that requires a tester from 6 months ago, that's from August till January, roles available were 982 roles. If we look at the difference to 2021 and 2020, we could see that based on, like I said earlier, the pandemic, people are now getting into the testing world because the technology is now becoming the groove of the day. And the rate is getting higher and higher on a daily basis. The demand has increased over 12.5% increase from last year. And the rate is high, even in Europe as a whole. So testing have a whole lot of opportunities. This is just the statistics of the contracting role were just for UK only. If I had included the one for the world, it's enormous, it's large. So I would advise if anybody who wants to get into testing, this is the right time to do it. So do you think this is for you? Who should take it? Who wants to be in the testing world? Who wants to have a testing at? Anybody. And like I said, it's the easiest path to get into technology. Anybody can take it, be a business analyst, be a project manager, be a scrum master, product owner, you want to be a software developer in test, even you want to be an automation tester, just like somebody asked earlier, do we teach automation testing? You need to have a knowledge of the manual aspects before you can do the automation. It's different from car where you can just go and drive an automated car or automatic car from the manual car. No, in testing world, you need to have a manual, because if you don't have the knowledge to write your test scripts is what you use to automate your tests. So you need to have that knowledge before you can progress. And that is the steps that I showed you earlier. If you remember that before you can progress, you need to have this manual knowledge, which is quite before you can now move forward to be an automation tester. And at the same time, like I said, myself, I'm just trying to move into cybersecurity analyst now to be a pen tester, security tester, so that I can be hacking any account I want to hack. I want to hack World Bank and be the billionaire of the world. But no, that's not what I'm paid for. I'm paid to stop people from doing it. And it's quite interesting because you meet a lot of people. And it's the same thing. I'm just trying to give you a diagram approach of how you can digress, how you can move from left to right in your life. And yes, questions. Now the floor is open. Mr. Wale, thank you so much, guys, for your audience. Really appreciate your time.
Wow. Thank you, Moiwa. Thank you so much for your time. I'm sure that all of your friends today, everybody that joined us from all over the world, they have enjoyed it. Timothy, if you're still on this call, could you do me a favor? I want you to post the link for the link to the registration. If you can, put that back there. I don't know why I'm not able to copy it, but please, if you can post it there. All right. Great job, Muiwa. Thank you so much. Muiwa, if you don't mind as well, can you also help me post the link so that I can quickly point people to that link? I don't want to, because today is Saturday. I understand that people want to go to parties, or you have a few other bit that you wanted to do. I don't want to keep you. So while you stop sharing, let me just bring up my own little slide. I won't take too much of your time, guys. I'm conscious as well. So can somebody just help me post the link again there? Muiwa, has that been done? You're mute. You're mute.
I think I posted it mistakenly to someone directly instead of.
Okay, yeah. If you can help me quickly post that, so that we can, if you can do that for me, so that we can just kind of round up So Miwa, thank you. All right.
Okay. Timothy has done that now for us again.
All right. In Hausa, they will say now go day. All right.
Yeah. That's thank you in Hausa.
Igbo people say dalu. Thank you.
Yoruba people will say what?
Yoruba people say oshe.
Is it Oshe or Eshe?
Eshe. Yeah. Thank you for your time. So whilst I just have you for 1 minute, if you haven't registered, register. If you're following us on Twitter, Alozie would post the link. If you want to see the recording, make sure that you're registered. And on Monday or before Monday, if Timothy has got the time tomorrow, you will receive an email pointing you to the location of the video. All right, the video is going to be available for you to watch. All right, so what is going to happen next is on the 31st of January, this is where we actually, get the main training started. All right, we're going to start on the 31st. It's going to be 20 hours training, 20 hours across 2 weeks, 2 hours per day. Do not worry, because the training is going to take place in the evening. So if you work in the daytime, then in the evening you can participate, so you work, then in the evening you come and join the training. 2 hours every day across 2 weeks. So you're looking to give us 20 hours, of your time, and we will give you the same as well. Then what will follow after, the 2 weeks of training is going to be 4 weeks of practical. 4 weeks of practical, it means that you will get the opportunity to put into practice whatever Muiwa and a few other tutors are going to be training you on. Some people have been talking about toolings. So what tools are we going to use? Quite a number of them. Do not worry. We've been in the training business for over 8 years, all right? And we pride ourselves in helping people to secure a job. That is what we do. You see, after that, we have trained you, all right? The ultimate goal for us is, for you, to be able to get a job. All right, but don't forget that, the responsibility does not ultimately relies on us. We have to work together to make that a reality. So if you are ready to work, if you're ready to roll off your sleeve, with us, then we are ready, to work with you, starting on the 31st. So how do you engage with us? The training, the acts speak with a specialist or an expert. The link is there. That link is also you saying, oh, Wale, Muiwa, I am ready. I want to be part of this, training, the upcoming training starting on the 31st. So if that is you, go ahead and, complete that form, and we will reach out to you. So we would reach out to you, and we would have a section that will now lead us into what we call the candidate's journey. All right. So you see what you have, you can see right in front of your screen here. This is what's going to happen the next time we're having a chat with you. We'll walk you through this journey. We will start by, understanding you first. It's important. All right. We will not assume that you understand software testing, or, this training that you have with Muiwa today, that, everything is fine. No, we would have a conversation with you where you lived in, if you're in Nigeria, fair enough. If you're looking, to, relocate, quite a number of people are doing that now. In Nigeria, they will say Japa, so if you're looking to do that, you're going anywhere in Australia, in the UK, or go to United States, whatever, your destination is, or if you remain in Nigeria, don't get me wrong, we will work with you so that we understand your journey, so that we can package the training to yourself as well, and make it worth your while and your time, and the price that, and the cost of it as well. So that one-on-one conversation is very, very important. I agree that a lot of people, would have questions, and there are certain things that you don't want to say in the public. All right. Trust me, we're career counselors, and we're not just counselors. We've been in this space, for a while, and we understand, we preempt some of the questions that you may want to ask us, so talk to us, and, let us, have that conversation, so you have to register, before we can start to engage with you. Then after the personality trait, assessment, to understand a bit of where you are, then we'll now do a thorough pre-course. That pre-course is now, you will not only just meet with Muiwa, you will meet with, other members of the team. So I have some of my colleagues here, like, so Pastor Ellen, who is our product manager, she would walk you through some of the product that we have, she's also going to be helping us with Jira. Jira is one of the toolings that you're going to use, if you're going to, do anything in software testing. You have to know how to use some tools. So Pastor Ellen, would be there, so you also meet with her as well, and she would, part of the training would involve teaching you how to use Jira. So the pre-course is meeting us, understanding who we are, and also how we can help you. Then obviously the onboarding. So I assume that anybody that comes from the pre-course, they want to be part of the training. So what would happen there is we would onboard you onto our platform, meaning that we'll give you a username and password, where all of our resources, you would be able to access it. There's so many information that we want to share with you, but until we do the onboarding with you, you might not be able to access those information. Then the training itself, number 4, the training, like I said, is going to run for 2 weeks, 20 hours, then followed by the practical. Then the work experience. This is where you're going to be working close. We're also going to be working with some of our colleagues as well, our dev team. Remember me what I was telling you about the people that you're going to be working with. So you work with the development team, you work with the product manager, you would also work with the project manager, and also the business analyst. For you to have a well-rounded experience in testing, you have to know, the people that you're going to be working with. So we'll put you in a project environment, a live project environment, and all the toolings that you need, to work on that project would also be made available to you. What usually follow after the work experience is where, now you want to go into the marketplace to start to apply for roles. All right. We will support you with CV review. All right. Something they call killer CV. All right. There will be CV review with you, where, you can apply from anywhere in the world. If, like I said, you're coming to the side of the world, maybe in UK, or you're going somewhere else, or you still remain in Nigeria, at least, you would have a CV, that you can use to apply for role. And usually, you will start to apply for role. If you secure an interview, this part of the process as well will support, your interview preparation. And the end goal for you is such that, you can secure a job. So go ahead and, complete that registration form, because that is the next thing. Those that complete the registration form, they are the people that we're going to be engaging with, to start to have discussion about, your background, and also, invite you, for, the pre-course. All right. And once we do that, then, we can start the training in essence. Some of you might be asking, say, oh, Wally, this is not for free. Absolutely. The real training, the 20 hours, the 1 week practical is not for free, but you have to sign up first, register, so that we can reach out to you and tell you what the cost is. So Muiwa, I want to say thank you for your time today. It's a pleasure to have you, and you have really, really helped us in the last couple of hours. Some people that joined early, I say thank you. Even people that joined later, I say thank you. We were oversubscribed. We had so many people that can't even get into the Zoom call today, because we have limited capacity of seat for you guys. So thank you guys. And I would look forward, to meeting with you on one-on-one. And if there's any question whatsoever that you have, we would unmute, the platform now. I will stop the recording, so whatever your background is now, it does not really matter, okay? I will pause the recording and I would unmute. You can unmute yourself and you can talk back to us. So give me a sec. Let me pause the recording now.